Hello everybody, welcome back to the stream. Good to see you all. How are you doing? So as stated in the title of the video, we're going to be working on a save system today. So we want to support mid-run saving of the game so that you can pick up right where you left off. I think that's going to be, it's going to be a lot of effort. It's going to be relatively straightforward though. The hardest part is saving the abilities that are on your cards. That's going to be the hardest part. And so that's the part that we're tackling today. I've already got a plan in place for that, and I've actually started implementing it already. So I think this stream is largely just going to be getting a very rough implementation of ability serialization and deserialization implemented. So that way I can have confidence that that works. And then the rest of the data that needs to be saved, like what nodes are on the map and which nodes are visitable and how much blood you have and how much currency you have and what artifacts you have, those are all going to be relatively easy to do. There's a lot of data that needs to be saved. There's a lot of things that I need to consider, but saving, like putting an artifact ID in a list and putting that in the JSON is a lot easier than taking your alchemized cards with all of their abilities and everything and making sure to restore those exactly as they were. So we're taking the hardest part first, and we're going to solve that one, and then the rest of it should be fairly straightforward. But anyway, before we get into that, Alchemortis is available for wishlisting. So if you are interested in a dark fantasy roguelite auto battler where you can use alchemy to make your own builds and synergies, definitely check it out. It's going to be releasing this year, so can't wait to get that out for you. And you could also support the development of the game on Patreon if you subscribe for at least 1 month at the $15 a month tier here. I'm going to send you an Alchemortis Steam key when the game launches, so you will not have to buy it again on Steam. So this is like a pre-purchase, and your name will also be listed in the in-game Alchemortis credits. So these perks will not take effect. This will not be available after the game releases, so supporting during development is your opportunity to get your name in the credits. And then also, I've got the Udemy courses available for sale. These will teach you how to build complete games in the Godot engine. So if you're interested in learning how to use the Godot engine, learning to build games in the way that I would build games, definitely check out the courses. Those are all linked below. And of course, you could join the Discord as well. Yeah, the links for everything are linked below. All right. Hello, V. Welcome back. Kelso, good to see you. Wooius, hello. Clickertail. I love seeing all these familiar faces. Welcome, Clickertail. Good morning, Ninja Link. And then a Ninja Link on the other side. Hello, Snupbill. Welcome back. Yummers. We love the Yummers message. Diginanigans, hello. Welcome. December A, you had no save system for the last 16 months. That is correct. There was no persistent saving of any kind up until very recently. So, yeah. Which is fine. I mean, I think, the typical advice is you should make your save system work as early as possible, but the game was in such like a heavy development state that I didn't feel like having to modify this save system with all the other systems I'd be modifying. So I just traded the ease of development of the main features for having a little bit more difficult time implementing a save system. But I actually don't think it's going to be that bad. So here's the thing. So I was consulting with Claude about the save architecture because, there's a couple of problems with saving abilities, and I know that I need a way of identifying abilities definitively. So if I look at, let's see, maybe Guillotine. So if I look at Guillotine here, it's got this composed ability. This is basically defined in this anonymous function. So nothing inside of here is serializable, basically. So I cannot just serialize this function and say, hey, like, load this function up from the save file. That's not possible. And that would have multiple problems anyway. Like, if I wanted to save all the data, like, I could, in theory, serialize the query target provider and, like, serialize a bunch of IDs that correspond to the abilities that are in this array, and then I could like reconstruct that all from the ground up. The problem is if I go and change any code at any time and I have all of this stuff in the save file which is dependent on like a certain piece of code existing, that's just going to be very brittle, right? So I need a way of identifying abilities. I thought about doing like unique IDs for each ability and then having some kind of like ability registry. So I would just like create a nano ID or something for each unique composed ability, and I would register that in a registry. And then what I could do is I could just, when I save a card in the save file, I could just list out all of the nano IDs for all the abilities that are on it. That would have worked, but that's a little bit clunky. It's a little bit inelegant because I'd have to move basically all these abilities out or call like some kind of register ability on these things everywhere where I'm defining an ability. And I still want to prioritize my experience as a developer, right? I don't want to give myself, 10 paragraphs of boilerplate to write every time I want to do an ability. So that was an option, but I didn't like it for a number of reasons. Another option was just to basically, and this is kind of leading into the final plan here, but one other option was all of the abilities, all these abilities are defined in definitive places. So they're either coming from a card or they are coming from one of the legendary abilities in this legendary abilities array, or they're coming from the negative abilities, the alchemy negative abilities, which is in this array down here. So there's really only like 3 places where abilities are defined. That's not technically true because artifacts also define abilities, but artifacts are a different case because they project the abilities, or they place the abilities onto the cards at runtime, and that is just baked into the artifact's functionality. So all I need to do is store the artifact ID, recreate the artifact on load, and then it will apply any abilities that's applying to the cards automatically. So I don't need to worry about serializing those abilities. So of the abilities that need to be serialized, they're all coming from just 3 places. They're coming from a card ability definition, like in the case of the guillotine here, or the legendary abilities, or the alchemy negative abilities. So one option was just to track where is it coming from, and then you know, there's a composed abilities array here, and we track the index, and we say, oh well, it's coming from this card at index 2. Problem with that is that if you're doing something by index, that becomes brittle too, because if I add a new element or remove an element, that index could shift, and that would just break the save file, right? So we want this to be as, I don't know what the word forward compatible as possible is. There may be cases where I need to invalidate save files, but I want to make it so that if like I'm doing patches post-release where I'm just tweaking some abilities, I don't want that to fundamentally break someone's save file just because the ability changed a little bit, right? And so sort of the next step after that is we are going to track where the ability came from, but we're going to make that order independent, and we're going to put as much data as possible into that ability origin so that we can precisely identify which ability we need to get. And so that leads to the current plan, which is we have a key now for each ability configuration here. This key is basically just an identifier. It doesn't need to be a globally unique identifier because we're going to be using a couple of pieces of information to identify where an ability is coming from. So let me see, let's see. Maybe the zombie would be a better one to look at because it's got multiple keys, or maybe not. Where is maybe the mandrake? Shoot, am I not going to be able to find a good example? Hold on a second, let me see. Let me see. Well, I'm not finding anything. But so there's a consideration to be made here, which is that, so for instance, if we're tracking it's called the card provenance, its origin, where the ability is coming from. So let's say that we alchemize this composed ability onto another card via alchemy. The provenance of that ability would be, it comes from corpse pile, right? But the specific ability within corpse pile is the one with the key composed poison. So we track those 2 pieces of information, and then what we can do when we load the save file is we can go to the corpse pile, we can get an instance of the corpse pile base card, and then we can grab the composed ability within the corpse pile that matches this key, and then we can put that onto the card for whose abilities we're restoring, right? Now there is a little bit of a consideration to be made here, like what happens if there are 2 abilities with the same key in here, and that should be handled. So a lot of my abilities are being created in this ability builder, like the damage, and this is just creating a key which is either self damage or damage based on this target self. It is feasible though that I could have a card that does like 3 damage and also like 5 damage as separate damage applications, in which case those two composed abilities would have the same damage key. And I just need to be careful about those situations, because then the system as it's planned would not be able to know which instance of the damage it needs to use. Does it need to use the 3 damage one or the 5 damage one? But I don't think that's a huge deal. I think what I can do is, if I need to, I could just add a third argument here for a key override. Or maybe there's some other thing I can do where I could like change the key of an ability. But anyway, so we're basically tracking where's the ability coming from and what is the key of the ability. And all of that is being associated in the card constructors. So this is my card constructors file. This is basically just mapping a card ID to its class. And this 2-card instance, every time I want to instantiate a card from an ID, it always goes through this 2-card instance right here. So in here, this is where we set up that ability provenance, is what we're calling it. So we create the card, we go through all the base composed abilities, and we assign the provenance if it's null. And then in this case, the source is it's coming from a card. The card ID is the ID of the card, and then we're passing in that ability key. So with these 3 pieces of information, we can narrow down where the ability is originating from. But for legendary abilities and for alchemy abilities, it's a little bit different, because the provenance here, the source is coming from legendary abilities. So these abilities are not associated with any specific card. But because we're saying it's coming from the legendary and we're still tracking the key, all I need to do to restore a legendary ability then is I just need to basically find the ability in this array that has that key. So, and that's the same for the alchemy negative abilities as well. So yeah, that is sort of like the plan. So the next big thing here, I think, is to just get a very basic save system working. So what I want to see is I want to be able to serialize all this ability data to a save model, I guess, and then load that up when the game loads and see if it restores all of the abilities properly. So we'll see. Could you not just end any active run but preserve the meta progression? Maybe even get the next run a free booster pack or something as compensation? Yeah, so I think that is a possibility. I mean, I think there are still going to be situations where I have to invalidate saves. But I like anything that's like a major change to an ability might be a save invalidation. I think as far as saving the meta progression, yeah, I think anytime a run ends, it will save the meta progression. So I'm imagining a situation where you go into the game, you find out, oh, a card that you were using has changed. You can abandon the run there, and then whatever meta progression you gained will still be carried over. So yeah, the plan is definitely not like... The plan is definitely like the meta progression should be the meta progression. Like if you go into a game and you fight 1 combat and you deal 1 poison damage, that should still be tracked as part of like your global statistic tracking. It shouldn't be tied to whether or not you finished the run or not. So yeah, I definitely think that that's going to be supported for sure. Hello, Chris. Good morning. Hello, Emerson. Okay. So let's go to, I'm going to create a new, let me think about this. So we have the save model here. Now the question is, do I want to put the active run data into... I might just create a new run save model, honestly. Let's create a new file. Okay. So we'll keep the version there. We don't need to save any of this stuff. Okay. So we have this board configuration model. Yeah, this is not going to work. I was thinking maybe I could leverage this for what I need to do, but I don't think so. Okay. Let's do board save model, I guess. Okay, in here, let's do JSON property. Inventory, board, so we're going to save the inventory board and the combat board in that board save model. We will leverage this a little bit. So we are going to need to save I might make this a little bit more granular. Combat board save model. Oops. Combat board save model, because this one is going to require JSON property, dimensions. Well, actually, let's just do width and height. So this is going to extend board save model. Okay, and then the run save model, we're going to save combat board save model. So this is going to extend board save model, and then this is going to have JSON property, let's create a new card save model. Public list card save model. I'm going to need to create that first. Okay, card save model. Cards. Okay, so now the card save model, we're going to do JSON property ID. That sounds good. We're not going to set that to string.empty. JSON property. So this is where we're going to save all the individual pieces of data, but let's just save the position for now. Let's do position X like so, position Y. I don't think we can serialize vector2s, so we'll just store the X and Y component separately. And then what we're going to have is we're going to have probably another one, card ability save model. So this is going to be JSON property abilities, list card ability save model. Okay, and then the card ability save model, I think what we could do is we can just do, honestly, I could probably just serialize that provenance, I'm thinking. Do I want to just save this ability provenance? I think maybe I do. I see you are serializing to JSON. Are you okay with all players modifying save files? I'm going to be encrypting them. I mean, yes, I'm okay with players modifying save files, but I'm going to obfuscate it a little bit. But there's not really any such thing as like a secure way of doing that. People could find the encryption key and decrypt it and edit it and re-encrypt it, all that stuff. The encryption is not to like lock down the save file from ever being edited. The encryption is just to discourage people from going in and changing things and breaking the game and then sending me a bug report because they tweaked something, right? Sometimes in your string templates, you have like 4 pairs of curly braces. I didn't even know you were allowed to do that, but that's just so it's easier to see when skimming the code. No, when you're doing template strings, if you want a literal curly brace in the output, you need to escape it with another curly brace. So in that case, I want 2 pairs of literal curly braces in the string, and so I need to escape those with 2 pairs of curly braces. How do we prevent players modifying save files? You can't really prevent it fully. The only way to truly prevent modifying save files is to store their save data off-site, like in a database or something. But obviously for a single player game, you're not going to want to do that. So you can encrypt the save files, but that's not going to lock it down. Like people with sufficient technical ability will be able to find the encryption key and decrypt the files and edit whatever they want. What are the pros and cons between saving to resource and JSON? I don't see any pros to saving to a resource, honestly. I could be wrong, but I don't see a reason to do that. Hello, Rookie Tookie. Welcome, welcome. Cocaine? Oh, no. Oops. Maybe I should have read that name before I said that. Oh well, don't ban me, YouTube. I'm not advocating imbibing any illicit substances. Hello, welcome to the stream. Do you enjoy C# more than GDScript? I don't know if I enjoy it more. I mean, I think it's better for my purposes, but I think GDScript is a lot of fun to work with and a lot of fun to write. It's just that creating a system like the systems I'm creating for Alcamortis, I think would be a lot harder in GDScript because of the lack of a lot of the things like interfaces that make my life easier. What a coincidence, I lose my save for Cyberpunk and I see someone working on a save system for their game. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That sucks. Well, I might just do this very... I might just do this. Let's take this out. Let's move this into the save. Let's create a new file, card ability provenance model. Because I think I can just... I think I can just serialize this. And then this can be public record ability provenance. Let's call this card ability provenance model. Okay. So card ability save model. Where is this? Card ability save. So it's going to save each ability individually. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say JSON property provenance. And then we can save whatever additional data we want on that ability, because I think I am going to need to be able to store some state about certain abilities in some case. So any of that data would go here, I think. But I need to think about that a little bit more. Hello, C-Stroll. I'm following your co-op course from Udemy. It's on GDScript, but would love to be able to make it in C# one day, but I don't have the skills yet. Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, the nice thing about C# with Godot is that it's like a one-to-one relationship between the APIs. So whatever functions you're calling in GDScript are basically the same in C#, except just with Pascal case. There are some differences, some like differences that are a little bit hard to figure out at first, but it's actually pretty straightforward. So I would definitely encourage you to try it when you feel comfortable. Trying to save between runs and continue at a later time. Yeah, well, not between runs, save during a run. So the idea is that you will be able to quit out of the game during a run and then continue that run later, which I think is going to be important because these runs could take upwards of an hour or more. So we'll figure that out. I made an enemy attack player. When I run the code, I found that the enemy damaged player twice in 1 second instead of once. Should I fix it or leave it? I think the player can overcome it. I think if it's not working the way that you intended it to, you should fix it. You shouldn't, just because it might be a bug that, you know, you actually like how it changes the gameplay, but the fact of the matter is it's still a bug. There's still something about it that wasn't working the way that you expected it to, right? And so what I would say is, like, if you like the fact that it's dealing damage a couple of times, make that more intentional. Don't just rely on the fact that a bug is occurring to drive your gameplay. You can let the bug say, oh wait, that's actually fun. That was an unintended thing, but that's great, but it's still not operating in the way that you intended it to. So fix it so that it is intentionally working the way that you want it to, or at least figure out why it didn't work as initially intended, address that issue, but you can keep the double damage if you want. I just don't think it's a good idea, like, you know, if your game is being held up by bugs that were discovered unintentionally, that seems very brittle and unstable to me. Anyway, card ability provenance model. Oh wait. Okay. Have I played Slay the Spire 2? I have not, no. I probably should do that. Is it good? Did you play it, Ninja Link? Yeah, bugs can become features, but doing it intentionally is better, as you might accidentally fix the bug that is now a feature. Right, yeah. And, you know, just just from just an overall standpoint, it's like, I don't think it's a good idea to have anything in your game happening that's not intentional, right? Like, and that doesn't mean that, you know, like in this game, a lot of times there are ability interactions which I did not explicitly intend, but that doesn't mean that they're bugs, right? Like, there is a sense in which I did intend it because I built the systems to be like to interact with each other in a certain way. And just because I couldn't anticipate a particular interaction doesn't necessarily mean that that's a bug, right? Because the systems are intentionally designed to work in a very systemic way where lots of different things can all work together, right? So I'm not saying that you need to foresee everything that could possibly happen in your game, but everything that could possibly happen in your game should be the result of like an intentional design and code that enabled that to happen, right? Okay, so let's see. I guess we'll just focus on saving the combat board first. So we've got the run save model, combat board, inventory board. Okay. All right. I've sunk 30 hours into it. I love it. Awesome. It's very good. Are you adding a system where you save after each node encounter or at key points? Yeah, I think the plan is that I will just save after every encounter type. So, and I probably can save after every encounter type, but also save when closing the window or save when quitting out of the game. So like when you come back from an event, that event will likely have changed something about your state, even if it's just like blood or whatever. So you come back from an event, trigger a save right there. So if you quit the game, you'll be right back to where you were after that event. But let's say that you finish an event and then you do a bunch of inventory management, right? You do a bunch of alchemy, you restructure things, and then you say, okay, I actually have to stop now. So you quit either by closing the window or going back to the main menu. That should trigger a save as well, right? So yeah, the idea is to just save very frequently. And that will help too in the event of like, if there are any remaining crashes, hopefully there aren't, but if there are any remaining crashes that happen, that should be very recoverable because the player can just go back in and they might lose like a little bit of progress in terms of like reorganizing their board or whatever, but their run is not going to be ruined because of a crash, right? Now, obviously I don't want there to be any crashes at all on release, but that's kind of a little bit unpredictable, so. Trying to understand why you make multiple save models. Is it going to be merged into a single save file or multiple? Just, it's all going to flow from the run save model. So these are just all nested, right? So we've got the run save model, then the board save model, then the card save model, and then the card ability save model. But this is all fundamentally owned by the run save model. It's just all nested, that's all. It's a great sequel to an already great game. I might have to try it. There's a Necromancer class, right? Now I gotta figure out where the heck... Data initializer. What is the acceptable time interval for autosave to occur? 15 minutes or 30 minutes? I don't know if there's an answer to that question. It depends on your game, right? For a roguelike game, it should be saving very frequently, I think. But for maybe, you know, games that are a little bit slower or have a heavier save process, maybe less frequently is the answer. So it entirely depends on what your game is and what, you know, like I think I can pretty easily save the save file after every event because I don't think it's not going to be that heavy of an operation. So I might as well just save as often as reasonable, right? The Necrobander is pretty fun. It has some neat mechanics. Okay. I'll have to try it out. Okay. I still don't know. Do I want to just put the run save in here? In one save file? Or do I want to save the run as a separate file? That is a good question. Well, just for ease of development now, I'll put it in here. Merge and save data on end one run requested. Okay, let's just do this. Run save manager. Extend node. Global class. So I'm gonna have to do all the loading as well. Let me think about this. Shoot. Loading everything is gonna be a pain, but let's just do this. So we're gonna just do this later. So this save current run, this is where we're gonna gather up all the information. Let's just worry about the combat board for now. So var combat board is equal to context helper dot board manager dot get player board. So we'll just go ahead and create a new run save model if it's null. Okay, and then new run save model, combat board, this is initialized here. I may just reconstruct this. I don't know if I want to initialize that. Combat board save model is equal to new combat board save model. Combat board save model dot width is equal to combat board dot dimensions. How do I do this? Combat board dot board inventory component dot dimensions dot x dot dimensions dot y. So we got the width and the height, and then we need the cards. So we need to create a card save model. Okay. So let's do that. For each var card in combat board inventory component, get cards on board. Okay, card save model.id is equal to card.card definition resource.id. Var position. Get card root position. I think we're just going to save the base composed abilities here, if I'm not mistaken. Combat board save model, add card. Okay. I think is that it? Card ability provenance model. I think that's it. Okay, so then my data, I need to clean a lot of this up, but it's okay. 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 All right. So let's take a gander at if that works or not. Thanks everyone for the advice. Yeah, you're welcome. You are welcome. So now we need to trigger this save current run. Let me just do this. This is going to be a little bit easier, I think. Let's do get tree, get first node in group, run save manager dot save current run, return current run saved. Okay, and then we need to add the run save manager here. Oh, I need to build first. So I am going to need to store the unlocked and locked cells as well. But that's just a separate piece of data that is not really relevant I don't know why it's not updating my global classes when I build. It's kind of annoying. Run save manager here. All right. Cool. Let's see what happens. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is let's just put these guys here, and then we will call save run. And now if we go to our save file, combat board is null because I'm not setting that. Run save model. All right, let's give this a shot. We'll see what happens. Alrighty, so we're gonna put this here, this guy here, this guy here. Okay, let's take a look at the save file now. All right, there we go. So we've got a current run. We don't have an inventory board saved. Combat board is width 4, height 4. We've got a skeleton mage at position 1, 1, which is correct. It has abilities. The provenance source is a card. Card ID is skeleton mage. Key is fire. Inner is null. Then we have the acolyte as well. Okay. Good. So I think there's a little bit. Let me think. So the thing about this is that I actually don't need to save this ability provenance unless it's alchemized and unless it's an alchemized card. Otherwise, I could just recreate the card from the base. So what I could do here is I could say, if card.is alchemized, now it may be better to just create like a to save model on my card itself, but we'll just do this in here for now. We'll clean it up later. So only if the card is alchemized, we're going to save this. Otherwise, this provenance will be null. And so when I restore, I'll just say, if the provenance is null, just recreate an instance of that card. And if the provenance is not null, then we need to recreate those abilities exactly. Hello, Johan. What are we saving? Active runs or meta progression? We are saving active runs. So we're going to try to save all the game state and then load that up when we load the game. So this is going to be a little bit tricky, I think, from multiple perspectives. But we're going to try it. We're going to see what happens. Because we got to save all the map data and all that stuff too, which is going to be a little bit of a pain. But one thing at a time. Okay, so let's see if that changes anything. You said that you are going to encrypt the save data, and I'm wondering, are you going to use an existing library, or is it going to be custom made? No, Godot supports encrypting files. So I'll just do that. Okay, so now if we go back to our log, I should probably just pin this so I can see it. Let's do... Here, we'll just do this. public. We need the position. Maybe I'll change this. Let's see. Oops. Let's do dictionary. Well, that's fine. Let's just do this. We're not going to set the position in here. If it is alchemized. Return card save model. Okay, the to save model. Let's also do JSON property is alchemized. Public bool is alchemized. Where's my base card? Why do I keep losing my base card? Here it is. Okay. Let's give that a shot. So we'll delete this. Run the game again. Just put one on the board here. Save run. Let's just pin this. Okay. All right. So that seems to be working. Just string reverse. It's so dumb. No one will figure it out. Yeah. Why are you encrypting the save data? I just got here, so I may have missed the logic. Just to obfuscate it, I want players messing up their game and sending me a bug report because they tweaked something. I've always been of the mindset for single player games, if people want to tamper with their save data, I won't stop them. Well, the problem is that doesn't have no externalities, right? Like, I don't want to deal with support requests from people who edited their save file and broke everything. I agree that it's on you, but that doesn't prevent them from, you know, going on the Steam forums or whatever and saying, hey, my game is broken, and not including the fact that they tampered with it. Hello, Artem. I mean, it's still going to be editable. It's just going to be a little bit obfuscated. What can you suggest to watch read on this subject? How to create save system for games? I don't know. I don't have any good resources. Serializing, deserializing is like the basic thing that you would need to know. But as far as like how you go about doing that, I mean, it's largely going to be dependent on your game and what the requirements are. But yeah, I don't have any good resources off the top of my head. AI is probably pretty good at it. I'll probably just use that. So we have, let's see. So we've got the card saving, the data saving. Now we need to load it. And I don't really know where the loading is going to come in. Like, this needs to be a very kind of like top-down process. So it's going to be a little bit... Yeah, this data flow. So how do we go from... So we load the save here. That happens on ready. But then we get down into a run. And this is setting up a bunch of stuff. So I think what I need to do... I have this run config here. Maybe what I do is pass... Well, let me think. Change to run. Default run config. So I'm wondering if I do... Do I put this in the run config maybe? So in my run config, what I could do is I could do public run save model. Get init. And the default run we'll just do run save model equals data initializer dot. Current run, something like that, and then main here. Set up player board. Trying to think of how I want to do this. I think what I'll do is I'll make everything go through the save system, even if there is no save. So basically, this setup player board, instead of just being an empty, having no arguments, what I could do is I can pass in the combat board save model here. And in the case where there is no current run, this would just be some kind of default value that would set that up. So I want to treat it, I think, as if it's loading a save every time, even if there is no save. So if there is no save, it will just use default values, but it will still be using the save model objects for setup. And that should make it simpler, because then if I have saved data, all I need to do is just pass in that saved combat board safe model. If I don't have saved data, then I'll just come up with a default configuration that sets it up as it should be with the initial run. I think that's the way to do it, but the problem here is that this needs to be moved into the run save manager, I think, and I'm not sure if that's going to be super clean. Let's see. Drawer UI. So there's some gameplay stuff in here too. So there's like setup stuff, and then there's gameplay stuff, like the register turn manager. So what I'll probably do is this setup function should just be for the gameplay stuff. So like connecting to the signals and registering everything. But for anything that's a configuration based thing, I need to save the max health too. Okay. For anything that's a configuration based thing, that's going to need to move into the run save manager. So that's what we'll probably need to do. Just can't skip a game dev stream even when I don't have the time. I wish you the best of luck. Wish you'll succeed. I'll join later. Awesome. Thank you. Times Hidden Secrets. Very much appreciate that. Specifics depend on the nature of your game. Yeah. Yeah, ultimately everything needs to go into data that you can read and write, basically. And then, you know, what data you need to save and what data you don't have to save, like what can be recreated at runtime and what data has to be saved. That's a consideration that you'll have to make. Like, for example, in my game, like I'm placing map decorations on the map randomly. And for that, I don't think I'm going to save any of the map like decorations, which means that from a purely just like visual standpoint, the map may look different even if you're loading a previous save, but regenerating all the map decoration placements is just going to be a lot simpler than like saving the seed and trying to make it look exactly right. So I don't need to save that data. You know, I think there's a question of like, could I just store the seed for something and regenerate it, right? Or do I need to actually go in and save like all the individual data about something? I think there's a good question there. So yeah, we're gonna have to think about that, I guess. The other thing that I'm considering now is that if I save... Never mind, I think it's fine. Hello, TK, welcome back. It's very worth knowing comes up web dev. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm pretty familiar with the concept of like persisting data because of my software engineering background. So taking a bunch of data from like a front-end interface, for example, and storing that persistently in a database and retrieving that data and sending it back as JSON, so on and so forth. So it's one of those things where experience helps as well. Anyway, I'm going to take a quick three-minute break, and then when I come back, we'll just continue on. We need to get the loading in place now, and this is kind of like the part where I'm going to need to restructure a lot of this code to get the loading to work in a sensible way. But we will we'll handle that as we go. So I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Hey, the old stream music is back. Yeah, do you like this one better, or did you like the old fantasy music? We can go back and forth if you want. Wouldn't you want to save the seed? Otherwise, the player could save scum encounters and rewards force particular outcomes. I get it's a single player game, so who cares, but it seems off to change. No, it's not. So the question is not between having consistent encounters between like loading your save or not having persistent encounters. That's the encounters are going to be persistent. So like it doesn't matter if you save or whatever. If you're going to go to this encounter that's at this spot in the map, it's always going to have the same exact options. The question that I was bringing up is, how do I want to maintain that persistence? Do I want to actually serialize the data associated with that encounter? Or do I want to rely on the seed and the determinism of the random number generation regenerating the map on load with the exact same options, right? So one option is very data heavy where I have to serialize everything and then recreate the node with that serialized data. And the other option is, well, just try not to change the map generation algorithm so that when the player loads the game with that seed again, it recreates all the encounters exactly as they were. That's the question, I think. And I still haven't decided which one I want to do because I think both approaches have their pros and cons. Like regenerating the map from the seed such that all of the encounters get generated exactly the same is definitely doable, but it's kind of brittle in that if I did just one thing different with the RNG, with the map generation, it could completely change the outcome, right? So, but that would certainly be the easiest thing to do, I think. Anyway, let me pick your brain on something, chat. Firebelly, I have a game I want to put a high score menu on. Like I want to upload this game to itch and save high scores. You think I would need a database? Yes, you do need a database of some kind. It doesn't need to be like super fancy. You may be even like Cloudflare and other services have like these like key value stores or something, which you may be able to leverage for that. You could use Firebase for it potentially. For me, the question is not only the storing data, but retrieving and constructing the scene from the saved data. I've heard about this constructor pattern, but I've never had a chance to implement. Free account on Supabase, yeah. Hoping itch might have something built in now. Fantasy music was nice for a change, TBH. Yeah, we can think about going back to it. Anyway, so run manager. So here, we need to do this. Let's just go ahead and we'll go to our run save manager. I hope this works. So let's just do this in loaded steps here. So let's just do load player combat board, run save model dot combat board. And we may want my VS Code is slowing down now, so time to reload the window. So basically what we want is this is going to need to be moved to save. And I may also want to pass in the run config here, I think. What I'm essentially going to do is anything that is a configuration thing, that's going to need to go into here. So I'm not saving any of the locked cell state yet, but you see how this has been narrowed down now to just the stuff that is needed to set up the logic for the game. This is not actually doing any setup for the dimensions of the board and all that stuff. So set board dimensions here. So we're going to say combat board save model is equal to new width 4, height 4, and I think we don't need anything else, right? Yeah, the cards will just be empty, so that's fine. So now what we can do when we load the run, right? Load player combat board, we got the combat board save model is equal to that. So now what I can do is I can place those player cards. For each var card in combat board save model.cards, we're going to do card factory dot create card. Is owned by player is true. Oh, this is a definition. I think I can do create card from ID though. Okay. Player board inventory component, add card or try place card at position. Card instance. Okay. And then what we're going to have to do, actually in here, we'll have to do something like if card dot is alchemized, then in here we're going to need to load ability provenance. Actually, what I probably should do is I probably should just do use card instance dot from save model, something like that. But this should work in like the default case, I think. So we got the load player combat board here, so that's in load current run. So let's see if that much works. So we've got the setup player board. So the idea is that we'll do all the setup in here. So whatever game logic needs to be set up between the boards and whatnot, and then we'll grab a reference to that run save manager. And after we've done all the gameplay related setup, this seeded run is going to be a problem, but that's okay. We're going to load the current run, and then we're going to do data initializer dot current run. And actually, I don't need to store this anymore. Var combat board save model is equal to current run save model combat board or new combat board save model. Okay. All right, I think that's making sense to some degree. Okay, all right. So let me just check my Alchemortis. So I should have a skeleton mage on my combat board now when I load up the game, if it works. Actually, did I call that load in the run manager? I did, yeah. And boom, there we go. Our skeleton mage is now on the board. And if I move him over, and I do save run, and I close this and I go back, there he is. Cool. So we've got kind of like the happy path default case working. And actually, this run config here, this should not be this. This should be, actually, the run config contains the run save model. So actually, this is all redundant. Awesome. Thanks for the opinions, fellas, whatever, yeah. Suggestion: seeded runs don't contribute to meta progression, so the player isn't incentivized to exploit save scumming. Save scumming is not going to be an issue. Like, I'm not going to build the game where just quitting out and resaving and all that stuff is going to be a viable strategy. Like, the player is not even going to have control over when the game saves. Like, it's just going to save your progress during a run. You can leave the run whenever you want, restart the game, come back, load that run, but you're not going to have like save slots. Like, you're not going to be able to go back, 5 minutes ago and load that run. It's just going to be saving the current snapshot of your run. And I think that's how roguelites typically do it, right? It's like, if they support mid-run saving, you can only, it's like an Iron Man mode, right? Like, you only have one save and you can only load that save. Your options are to load that save and go to the end with that save, or abandon the run and start a new save. So there's going to be no save scumming. Time to decide if it's worth the complexity. Wouldn't changing the seed affect the rules of alchemizing? Like, would I be able to save scum an alchemy result if you don't retain the seed? The seed for alchemizing is not seeded because it's impossible to get deterministic results based on how many things can be random. Like, like if you just do things in a different order, you're going to get a different result, right? So that's like functionally no different than just setting up a random number generator that's just got a random seed every time you load the game. There's not, when it comes to the player actually interacting with the game, there's no determinism there, right? So making the alchemy results seeded and deterministic is kind of like pointless. Now, you could argue that, well, you could do the alchemy and then you could just close the game and reload and do the alchemy again. But I could fix that. I could just make the game save after you alchemize something, right? That's something that could easily be fixed, but we'll see. We'll see. We're going to do the basic case first, and then, like, I could do things, like I said, like I could save the alchemy result. And so if you close the game, it saves that, and then you load it back up, and then your alchemy board has the same exact alchemized results in it that you still have to take. You still have to choose one, right? So there's definitely ways around that. Okay, so let's go to the base card. So we haven't actually gotten into any alchemization yet, but let's do public void from save model, card save model. Okay, so we're going to say is alchemized equals card save model dot is alchemized. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say if is alchemized, so that is going to be the thing that I'm going to need to figure out, this creatability from providence. So let's worry about that in a second. But we are going to want to do clear composed abilities. Go to the run save manager. Public static void main string args. Hello, Kent. Welcome to the stream. Hello, Eto. Welcome back. It's going well. How are you doing? Anyone that cares enough to save scum can always just back up their save file. Then if they don't like where they are, they just delete the current save and restore from backup. Yeah, I mean, we're not going to try to we're not trying to make this like Fort Knox or whatever. We're not going to lock this down, but we're just going to make it like the easy path to playing the game is just going to make it so that it becomes more of a hassle to save scum than not. But yeah, I mean, people are going to be able to break the game. They'll be able to decrypt the save file and tweak whatever they want, and unlock mark anything as unlocked that they want, and I'm sure people will save or share save files with everything unlocked. It's like, I'm not worried about that, right? Like, anyone who wants to do that, fine, go ahead and do that. I'm just like, let's just make the normal experience of what I want the player to experience the easy path, and then everything else beyond that, like whether you want to modify your save file or save scum, that's just going to be a hassle, right? And most people aren't going to want the hassle. Most people are just going to deal with what they're playing. But for the people that like to do that kind of thing, it's still going to be available. I'm not trying to make this like super secure, you know what I mean? Yeah, I don't think it's worth the effort either. Okay, so now we need to actually do this, create ability from provenance. So let's do the base case first. Card ability, provenance model dot, no. Card definition is equal to card registry from ID. No, that's not what I want. Var card is equal to create card from ID. I guess we could just do true here, why not? Var ability is equal to card.getBase composed abilities dot first or default ability dot key is equal to provenance dot key. Okay, and then we want to return ability. I guess we'll just duplicate the ability. Or no, we can just return. Yeah, let's duplicate the ability, I guess. Okay, case provenance source dot negative. We're gonna do public static base composed ability get ability by key string key abilities dot first or default. So we're going to return alchemy negative abilities dot get ability by key dot duplicate. So this one first or default, yeah, return ability dot duplicate. And then default, we don't need default. Case provenance source dot legendary. I guess I could do get by key. I don't know if I need to call card.destroy here. Maybe I do. Okay. From save model. Create ability from provenance. If ability equals null, data initializer dot log dot warning failed to load ability with provenance and key. Okay, and then we're just going to continue after that. And then we're going to do add composed abilities. We can do loaded abilities dot add ability, add composed abilities, loaded abilities. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and see what happens. Would the game have any quick saves that way before the player moves? If they choose bad path, they can go back to the quick save and choose a different path? No. No, I don't think so. I mean, maybe. I mean, it depends on what players say, right? But roguelites are typically like, you make your decision and you stick with it, right? There's no going back. It's not a single player RPG with like all these branching choices and like, oh, you want to see all the endings and whatnot. It's just like the run is the run, and every decision you make in the run is going to impact how the rest of that run goes. That's just how roguelites are, right? Hello, Jack and Daytona, welcome back. Is it difficult to save everything that needs to be kept after closing the game? Is it necessary to change so many variables? Yes, it can be difficult depending on the complexity of the game. A game like Gunforged was not that complex because I wasn't doing mid-run saving in Gunforged. So I was basically just saving whatever statistics were being gathered on like what unlocks you had, and that stuff is pretty easy. But saving the game state, like in a game like Alchemortis, it can be pretty difficult. And it's very easy to do it wrong or in a way that spaghettifies everything. So that's why I'm trying to be a little bit careful. I need to serialize the player and their monster, which involves serializing the monster's battle stats, name, etc. Yeah. It also isn't obvious when to save, right? Huge mug, by the way, I love it. Hello, B. Tooley. Yeah, we're working on mid-run saving now. You could save on scene transitions or let the player save manually and any other combination of things, yeah. If you make big games, isn't it better to create a save system at the beginning? Not necessarily, right? Because, like, again, it depends on the kind of game. With Alchemortis, I didn't really know what the final form of the game was going to be like when I first started development. And it was only very recently that I started getting comfortable with, like, the systems being more or less set. Like, obviously, I'm still going to make tweaks and changes, but there's nothing fundamentally about the game that's going to change at this point in development. And so now that I'm confident in how all the systems work and how the map generation works and how the card ability system works, now I can design a save system which accounts for all those things. If I had built a save system months ago, and I changed all my abilities and how they work and how I define abilities and all that stuff, I would have an extra piece of added work to then go back and update the save system, and then you could repeat that many times, right? So it's like you go through 3 major overhauls of your game, and that also means 3 major overhauls of the save system. And so it's a judgment call, but I think in the long run, like, yes, the save system is going to be a little bit difficult to set up because I don't have that in place right now. But the time that it's going to take to do that after all my systems are relatively solid and finalized is going to be less effort than the effort that would have been required to keep a save system up to date as all of those systems were changing, right? I don't think it's a necessarily unique thing to go that creating a save system is tedious. I think it's always tedious no matter what engine you develop in. Yeah, it's tedious and full of edge cases, right? Like you forget to save one piece of data and then it's like, oops. So it's kind of like, yeah, it's kind of difficult. Save state was really annoying because I have quests, so you need to serialize the state of the quests. Yeah. Yeah, I think this is exactly right here. But it depends, you know? I mean, like, if you consider a game like Minecraft, which has a persistent world state that needs to be saved, A game like Minecraft is probably the kind of game where you need to figure out how you're going to save and load worlds from the get-go. Just because that's a much more complex problem. And that is more like integral to the game. So yeah, I think it definitely depends on what your game is. Dang, I'm liking these new inventory buttons. Not to toot my own horn, but anyway, let's do some alchemy. So we've got this, apply 2 fire and apply 1 fire per adjacent allied ritual card. So we've got that, right? Let's do save run. And let's see if that alchemized card is restored. I'm guessing it won't be for whatever reason. Did it work? Look at that. We just restarted the game and boom, our alchemized card now retains all of its alchemized abilities. I'll do it again. Now this is not being saved, so I'm seeing both of these, or all this inventory again. Okay, and we're going to test the negative abilities. So we've got 2 fire, 1 fire per adjacent ritual, heal 3 for each allied minion card, and critical multiplier reduced by 0.5x. So if we do the save run here, and we close the game, and we come back, boom, that card has been restored. Look at that. How do you encrypt it? I think most game engines, Godot for sure, just has built-in file encryption mechanisms. So it's just an open source encryption algorithm. Anyone could look up what algorithm is used and decrypt it as long as they have the encryption key, which again would be stored in your game files. So the encryption key is not for like locking it down in a way that you typically think of encryption. It's just a way of like obfuscating the save file so that it discourages people from tinkering with it without making it outright impossible. Yeah, at least a base player won't do it so easily, yeah. Look at that. I can't believe that's working. It's got all the abilities that it needs. That's pretty cool. We've got the inklings of a save system in place now. Good. If people are trying to tinker with your game, it feels like a good problem to have because that means people actually care enough to dig through the source. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. But again, like the people who are going to go into the game files and tinker with it and like look at the PCK are the same people that are going to be able to modify their save files if it's encrypted, right? So it's like, basically, I'm just trying to protect against like the 80% case where players just go in and like they don't know what they're doing and they change the file and they break it, and then it creates a headache for me if they file a bug report, because then it's like I have to figure out, did they modify something? But for the players that do want to go exploring, like that's not going to be much of a barrier for them at all. So I think it's fine. And you know, if the game is popular enough, I'm sure people will be publishing tutorials like, here's how to decrypt your save file so that you can you know, modify it or whatever. Save the upgrade level next. Yeah, I'm trying to decide, like, I'm gonna have to save everything ultimately. I'm gonna have to save everything ultimately, but in games that have cloud save like IDK, Hollow Knight, can you prevent it? I don't think so. Because the cloud save is basically like the way you configure it in Steam is that you just say, here's where I'm saving the save file, and then Steam handles the cloud saving for you. So Steam will just check if that file changed, it will upload it. So yeah. I hope it will be that popular, my dude. Yeah, me too. Is there some free courses anywhere for C#? Yeah, I'm sure you can find it on YouTube. Welcome back to the stream, MMM Peaks, by the way. All right, so we have some more data to save, but I'm going to take another quick 3-minute break. And when I come back, we will work on saving some more of the data, maybe the tier. There is going to be a tricky part to this, which is that some abilities have persistent internal data that needs to be saved. I don't know if I've quite worked out how I'm going to do that, but we'll figure it out. Anyway, I'll be right back in 3 minutes and we'll continue on. All right, I'm back. Oh, shoot. I forgot something. Sorry. 1 second. Okay, now we're back. If working as a solo developer, how would you suggest to get a game image to suit your game? You can hire somebody. Or, image, get game image. Oh, you're not talking about like the capsule. So for like Steam capsule art, you can hire somebody to do the capsule art. But as far as like the actual assets in your game, yeah, I mean, there are asset packs lying around. There's some on itch. There's open game art. There's all these different places you can get it. Yeah, I mean, what you're asking for, Xeon, is you're asking for basically you don't have the ability to create art yourself, but you want your art style to be exactly according to your vision, and that's just not going to work. I think you need to treat like, we're big on constraints here at this channel. You're going to need to treat that as a constraint. Like you're going to have to change how you approach your game from, I want this to match the artistic vision I have exactly. You're going to have to change it from that to, how can I make this asset pack work for my game? Like how can I squeeze the most out of this asset pack to make a presentable game? Working around your limitations and core skill, yes. Yeah. Yeah, you might be able to work with an artist, but again, like when you do a collaborative effort, like I was mentioning this yesterday, like somebody's not going to make your game for you, right? It's not going to be, I want to make this game and I need an artist to work for free to realize my vision. It's, if you work with somebody else, it's going to have to be collaborative, which means that it's not really going to be your game. It's going to be your team's game. And so, yeah, I mean, if your goal is like you have a game that you want to create, you either need to hire people to work on it, or you need to figure out how to just do it yourself. Okay, so we need to save some other stuff. We could save the tier. Public bool is legendary. What else do we need to save? Do we need the base turn cooldown? I don't think so. I think that's it, actually. I think that's it. So we could just do tier equals tier is legendary equals is legendary. From save model. And actually, this is going to need to be set. Well, we're going to want to do the set tier after we load all the abilities. I think that's it. Okay. So let's try a couple of things then. Actually, let's change. What do I want to change here? Let's change the test map node type to card upgrade. And we might as well test player cards. Let's just add a lead ingot here. Let's see. Yeah, adjust your game to the content Your game content to suit the assets you have, yes. I've made none of the art, bought it on itch, and I work with what I have. Fireblade makes all of his own art, though. Yes. Yes, I do. You can definitely make your own art. I mean, it's going to be a little bit difficult, probably, but you can definitely do it. Just takes time. Oops, I'm doing the wrong thing. Okay, we're going to do this. Upgrade this guy. It did not work. Why didn't that work? It's kind of concerning. Oh, probably because the tier was not saved to start with. Yeah, that's probably what happened. The tier was defaulted to 0 or something. Okay, so we've got a tier 2 skeleton or tier 3 skeleton mage. I'm just gonna slap a legendary in with it. Can I do this? Yeah, we'll just make it legendary. We'll see what happens. Okay, so that's adding the fire ability. It's still tier 3. Okay, so now let's do save run. And we'll see if this guy is reconstructed properly. Boom, look at that. Cool. So there's a lot more stuff to save for sure. We could probably do the same. We could do the same thing for the player inventory. So we'll do load player inventory board, run config. So I have this populate player cards in here, but I'm probably going to change that. Let's see, run manager, populate player cards. Time to go deadlift. Have a good day, everyone. Sounds good. Thanks for joining Courier Games. Always good to see you. So I'm basically going to want to take this. We got load player inventory board. This add blood here, we're going to need to move that somewhere else. So we're going to need to keep track of that. Player inventory is equal to context helper.board manager.get player inventory board. If inventory board save model is not equal to null, then we're going to load. Otherwise, we will start this off. So we'll just do this. So if we don't have a current save, we're going to load the starting card IDs, otherwise the test player cards. We're going to pack cards on board. Player inventory board. I guess just player inventory. Okay, So if inventory board save model is not equal to null, then we're basically going to want to do this again. So private void load board cards helper. Okay, and then in here, load board cards helper player inventory, inventory board save model. So back in our run manager, we're going to get rid of this populate player cards here because that's going to be done during the load current run. So we don't need to worry about that. That's going to be done with the artifacts as well. Same thing. Good morning, Nathan. How are you doing? Welcome back. So let's see if that works. So if I'm looking at my alchemortis.json file, inventory board is null. So what I should see when I run the game is all of those cards will be set up. Oh, am I actually doing... I don't know if I'm actually saving. Let me change this actually. So I need to save those boards as well. So we're going to do save combat board. Let's just do that. Private void save combat board. And then we're just going to go ahead and grab all this. Private void save board cards helper. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. And then we can do save inventory board. We don't need to save the width and the height because that's not in effect. Okay, so now here we can get rid of this and just do save inventory board. All right. Hopefully that will work now. So I'm starting to see the process here. I'm starting to see the pattern of how this loading and saving is going to work. Everything's going to flow through that run save manager, which is going to require some changes to be made, but let's just move some of these things around and we'll sell this guy as well. And then we'll do save run. And so when I load up the run, I should see that my inventory is basically exactly the same. There we go. So I don't have that acolyte. All these cards have shifted positions. That's great. And then let's go ahead and just alchemize a couple of these things together. We'll grab this Fungus Gigantus there. And then let's go ahead and upgrade it as well. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and save the run. And we'll just make sure that that is working. Bam, look at that. Awesome. Excellent. Okay, so our inventory boards are being saved for the most part. The one thing that I'm not saving though is the locked cells here. So I could go to a grow board event. What is the grow board event? Grow board is 5. So if I go to 5, what I could do is I could change the size of my board, but it's not going to save what cells I have unlocked. So let's grow it to the right. So now we've got 2 columns on the right edge. And if I go ahead and just unlock these, and then I save the run, it's going to save those board dimensions, but it's not going to save the unlock cell state. Oh, it didn't save the board dimensions. Oops. I wonder why that didn't happen. Let's see. Width 5, height 4. So why is that not working? Let's figure that out first. Let's see why that's not working. Load player combat board. Oh, because I didn't change the dimensions here. New vector 2, combat board save model dot width dot height. Oh, this needs to be vector 2i. That should work now. Boom. Wait, did it actually save the unlocked cells? Oh no, it's only locking the edge cells, right? I did unlock these ones. So we're going to need to figure out how to save the board unlock cell state as well. Trying to think of how I want to approach that. Let's see. I think I have locked cells. Do I have locked cells? I do. Get locked grid cells. I mean, I should be able to just do that. That's read only, so I could do locked cells.clear, locked cells.union with cells to lock. I think that's okay. So JSON property, locked cells, public. Oh, can I not do... I don't think I can serialize vector 2s, but might as well try it. Okay, so when we load the player combat board, so lock edge cells. If not is loading, we're going to lock the edge cells there. Otherwise, player board inventory component dot set locked grid cells. So the load player combat board. Yeah, okay. So it's updating all the locked cells into the dimensions before it's trying to place the cards. That makes sense. Okay, let's see what happens. And it's going to have no locked cells because it is loading. So I'm actually going to need to clear my save data and reset. But we verified that all the other stuff is being saved, so that's good. So we go here. We'll put this guy on here. We'll grow the board to the left. Let's just unlock some very obvious cells. We'll just do the top corners, or the corners here, as well as this left column. Okay. So we do save run. We could take a look at the, did that serialize? I wonder if I can serialize vector 2s. Oh, I can. Look at that. Built-in serialization for those things. Very nice. Okay, that works. The only thing that's kind of annoying is that these are capitalized, but oh well. So there's all of our locked cells, and so now when I run the game, there we go, we're restoring that locked cell state. And just to make sure, I'll put some guys on those unlocked cell sections. Save run. And we can also, yeah, there we go. That's working great. We can also profile this a little bit, so I just have data about this. So when I go to run save manager, save current run, we'll do var start time is equal to time.get time get ticks usec. Data initializer dot log dot debug saved run in all right. I don't need milliseconds. Let's do ms. Okay. So we can log that too and just see how long that takes. It's probably not going to be long at all. Well under, I'm going to say well under a millisecond, but let's see. Oh, 8 milliseconds. Dang. I was wrong. Oh, there we go. The first save was kind of hefty, but the second save was under a millisecond. I wonder why the first save was. Maybe it was C# initialization stuff, but let's change some things here. There. Yeah, 1.8 milliseconds. So that's definitely fine. I mean, if that happens during a single frame while you're transitioning, you're not going to notice it. Okay, and then I can close the game and load it up again. And there we go. Cool. So I'm feeling pretty optimistic about this because, believe it or not, the hardest part of the save system is now done. The hardest part of the saves, well, I'm not totally done with it. I need to figure out how to save internal state as well, but of certain abilities. But generally speaking, the hardest part is solved, which is how do I get all of the abilities for alchemized cards back onto the cards? And I think that is basically good. So yeah, I think we are set. I think we are set. Cool. All right, that's going to be it for the stream for right now, but I may be streaming later. So if you want to be notified when I go live, you can join the Discord. That's linked in the description below. You can also wishlist Alchemortis on Steam. If it sounds interesting to you, if it looks interesting, if you want to support me, that's a great way to do it. But all the other ways you could support me are linked in the description below as well. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll probably be working on this afternoon, this save system. Whether I do that on stream or not, we'll see. But yeah, like I said, join the Discord to be notified the next time I go live. And hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye-bye for now.